Welcome to this Christmas edition of the RHôNE Infobites podcast series. For this edition, I'm joined by Marcel. Marcel, would you mind giving a short introduction for yourself?
Hello, Claire. Very happy to be here. A little bit in advance, but very happy and honored to be part of this podcast. And as you may see, I just started my decoration. The tree is not fully finished, but it's on the way. And my decoration is not perfect as well. I just have a beer, but I am Santa Marcel today. My name is Marcel Bony. I was actually at the creation of at the time called RHôNE Diagnostics. We are back to the year 1995. Was the director, and I actually worked with Claire in the years 2000 until 2005, and really good time at RHôNE Diagnostic and then R-Biopharm RHôNE. We really enjoy good time. We really work all together as a team, and well, without missing it, I miss it, and I really like so much Scotland and all the team here. But I already announced it. I will be back next year, very early next year, to share time with you all.
And I know you were always a big fan of the Christmas parties here in Glasgow, weren't you, Marcel?
Yes, I really could not find such atmosphere in France. They could not import it. And really, yes, I have to say something. Christmas party in Glasgow is really something I enjoy a lot. And but I'm not anymore invited.
Well, we'll see what we can do about this year then, Marcel. We'll see what we can do.
Okay. If you don't mind, I undress myself.
Sure.
I'm Marcel Bony, not anymore Santa Marcel, but it was a good idea.
Yeah. So for today's podcast, we're doing a sort of a slightly different theme. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the word Christmas and we're going to consider all the letters in that word and talk about perhaps food or mycotoxins or products that maybe begin with those letters. So if we consider the first letter, so C, what kind of food, Marcel, do you think or comes to mind when you think of the letter C?
Let me think, maybe call a friend. No, sorry. I think chocolate will come to my mind quite rapidly.
Yep.
And I have to say I like it, although you are going to say, be careful.
Yes, I mean, who's not a fan of chocolate, especially at Christmas time? You know, you open your stocking on Christmas morning and there's some chocolate there, and that's exactly what you have for breakfast, isn't it? It's your chocolate that you've been given. But yeah, I mean, new ochratoxin legislations, isn't there, concerning cocoa in the EU, much stricter than they were before. You've worked in Ghana, for example, and there's a lot of cocoa production there.
Yes, I think when I left Glasgow, my first target was obviously France. We developed there a daughter company, and but relatively rapidly I had some big investigation in the African market, especially the French-speaking countries, with some exception like Ghana, indeed, where Ghana, together with Ivory Coast, is the biggest producer in Europe, in the world. I think over 70% of cocoa and also other things. But cocoa there is very important as a revenue for people, and it's an industry, And I visited a lot of company. I visited a lot of institutions. I have to say, very, very keen, to offer product of quality, and there I really try to, let's say, help as much as possible, all aspect of technique, all aspect of analytical testing, together with sampling, and I have to say for that I was helped tremendously by Claire and all her team at Glasgow.
Yeah. So let's hope some of what we've done during the training sessions and webinars has paid off in Ghana, and they're testing the ochratoxin as they should do, and it should meet EU regulations so that we are safe to eat those products on Christmas morning. So looking at the next letter in the word Christmas, it's H. What about foods beginning with H? What first comes to mind?
There must be some food, but you have to help me. maybe, or I call a friend.
No, for me, it's hazelnuts. I think hazelnuts and chocolate, they're both associated with
Hazelnut,
Christmas.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, hazelnut.
Yep.
Not so much in Ghana, or
No.
more maybe, but more in Europe,
Yep.
South, especially South Europe.
Yep.
We Definitively hazelnut is linked with Christmas, and hazelnut may suffer a little bit as well some storage issues. And I know there you worked a lot, especially Italy, provenance and supply. And yes, hazelnut. Sorry to have forgotten. Now I have to think of the other one. O C O. Oh my God, a lot of them.
Yeah, no, I mean, hazelnuts, obviously, I think the big testing there is with aflatoxin. There's a lot of aflatoxin testing done with hazelnuts. There's a official method from SEN. I think it's method 14123. So yeah, hazelnuts is a big thing at Christmas. I have to say the letter R is the next letter. That was a difficult one for me to think about for food with that. The only thing I could think about there was red cabbage. I don't know whether you can think of anything, perhaps sort of Christmas food relating to R.
No, I have to say I need your help. Sorry, I didn't prepare myself correctly, but I will be supporting you.
Red cabbage was the only one that I could think of. Quite often we have the red cabbage, sometimes with apples through it and so on. But honestly, we don't do much testing for that for mycotoxins, to be fair.
No, no. But red cabbage with our friend in Germany is quite common,
Yeah.
And okay, red cabbage. Okay, maybe not so much in the regulations, maybe not so much in your target to develop method, to develop application. What I know from RBR is not only an immunoaffinity column you propose, but together so many methods, And sometimes you will have difference from a country to the other, especially with nuts, But red cabbage, I don't remember we work so much on it.
No, I don't think we have. Another thing relating to the letter R, there's lots of different mycotoxins. I think there's over 400 different mycotoxins that have been identified. And there is actually a mycotoxin called rubratoxin. So it begins with the letter R, but it's certainly not one that we do any testing for. But you never know what happens in future with all these emerging mycotoxins.
Yes. You just need to develop an antibody, then that will be all right.
That's
No,
it.
I think you have a lot with what exists as legislation, a lot to do, a lot of application. I know you develop so much multitoxin as well.
Yep.
I know you are certainly at the top of the best company for that. I'm so proud, to be honest, of RBR, all what developed together with automation.
Yep.
But I think what you do the best is the service, And you have good product, but you also have good service. In other words, any lab around the world, if they need help, they will get it. And it will be fast, it will be efficient. And I know you didn't do it, but in Ghana, you were ready to come,
Yep.
And all right, but I think you develop such experience. Now I'm speaking from outside because I am in a way your customer in France,
Yep.
but the team is so happy to work with you, Claire, and also all the team. I need to say that because it's true.
Yeah. Well, no, thank you, Marcel. So looking at the next letter is I. And I was thinking about ice cream. Ice cream is quite often something that people eat, after their dinner. It's a bit lighter than maybe Christmas pudding or whatnot, but ice cream, the milk, the dairy, I think that's very important to test for mycotoxins, particularly M1, isn't it?
Yes, definitively. And I remember in the time it was we started by B for sure, aflatoxin B, G, but very soon we developed the M1.
Yep.
We developed different format of column, and to my knowledge, the M1 test you have still, is still one of the best one existing in terms of capacity. You are looking for such small level of aflatoxin M1, but you need to have good antibodies, you need to have good method, and also, as you said, it's not only milk, it's not only powder milk, it's everything transformed like ice cream or anything which contains milk.
Yeah.
And the risk is high, especially when you consider that big part of the eater, the consumer, are children. And it's why the legislation has been one of the first made after aflatoxin B and Gs.
Yeah, yeah. No, and as you say, Aflaprep M, it was probably one of the very first products produced,
Yes.
all those years ago, wasn't it? And it's still one of the top selling products nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So looking or considering the next letter from the word Christmas, if we take S,
S.
so something that we quite often eat in our household is salmon. So salmon, you could test for vitamin B12, so not mycotoxin, but vitamins, just to test the natural levels of B12.
Yes.
And I think we were one of the very first companies actually launching an immunoaffinity column for vitamin analysis. And again, it's gone from strength to strength, and it's one of our biggest selling products to date. But can be used for lots of other things, not just for salmon, but for analysing milk and lots of different other commodities as well.
Yes. Yes. I'm convinced more and more analysis will be done on vitamin. You may have not enough, or you may even have too much. Vitamin in certain product, and that has a direct, acute effect on health compared to toxins, which is a chronic effect. Here you can have big problems. Yeah. And all the range you develop so far, I know, is developing a lot, at least in France. We have more and more users. You did a good job again.
Yeah, and it's something we want to continue expanding, is the range of vitamin immunoaffinity columns.
Yes, and I think multi is at your program.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Vitamin testing is certainly something of interest.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that area is growing as well.
Yes.
So considering tea, first food that comes to my mind there, turkey. Who doesn't have turkey in the UK at Christmas time?
Yes.
Now, we don't have a test kit that begins with the letter T, but if you think about some of the things in history, turkeys is one of those things where, many years ago there were 100,000 different turkeys that all were killed, and it was due to an outbreak of mycotoxin. It was aflatoxin, and that's really where I think a lot of the interest in mycotoxin analysis started, and it's grown from there over the years. That probably has plays a big part in history, particularly for our company. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for mycotoxin testing, for example.
It started with that, and at the time I think we not knowing so much about what it was. The toxin problem didn't start there, it was just unknown. And it's why they spoke at that time of Turkey X disease, But we know that toxin exists from a long time, from Middle Age time. But I think it's true that the knowledge about toxins, about toxin from mushroom, from fungi, as there are so many, publications. And then what happened is legislation, because really testing for toxin is a key, in chronic disease development around the world, and it's why it has taken so much importance. And it's not finished, Remember, we at that time where I was in Glasgow, we were mainly concentrating on a product coming from, let's say, outside Europe.
Yep.
Where now we even get aflatoxin in France, in certain production, or ochratoxin for sure. And then we develop, there is no D in your Christmas word, but Don vomitoxin became very important, especially for wheat, Yeah. And so the list is long, and it's not finished for sure.
Yeah, and I think, as you say, the mycotoxin has been found in different countries. It's changing over the last few years because of, global warming, different weather conditions, so the mycotoxins found in certain areas is changing over time, and it's something we need to evolve with.
The African continent, I know a little bit, is realizing that it's not all about aflatoxin. There is also fumonisin quite a lot. Maize, it's a big production. And if you look at it, if you don't look, you don't find, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's where the 11 plus and the multi-toxin approach is important.
Yeah.
Is important for certain countries, because then they realize something has to be done, and not only for export, more and more for people, to prevent big development of problems in the population, I could see that as an evolution, and but you know that in all around the world, for toxin, but for other issues we are touching at in our group, like antibiotic and or histamine, or those are global problems for the food safety, and you cannot ignore them.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, looking at the next letter, we've got M. So I was thinking milk. Everybody
Yes, M.
Who doesn't leave a glass of milk out for Santa, for them to for him to drink when he leaves the presents. But it's a big area where M1, we touched on that earlier, can be found. There was a scandal not long ago, a couple of years ago in Europe, where there were high levels of aflatoxin M1. But, looking, we talked about the immunoaffinity column before. We also have automated solutions, so large throughput companies that are testing high volumes of milk samples. We do have an automated immunoaffinity cartridge, with the ReaderCrest system. I think you've got some experience with that system, Marcel, don't you?
Yes, the quantity of analysis has really grown up very much along the years, and the key is to absorb the analysis, and definitely ReaderCrest is unique, and for me it has different advantage, but one of them is to, for sure, absorb the flow, the number of samples, but also to, in a way, standardize the treatment of the sample treatment, where you will have a nice, let's say, a sample deposit on the cartridge, but then all steps are done automatically and can be during the night, And it's definitely something which I'm sure will be of bigger interest in the future, because more analysis will be done, and more automation will be needed, especially where you have season, let's say, analytic program. You don't get toxin all along the year. I'm thinking on the vomitoxin, the DON, for instance, on wheat. It's very concentrated on 3 months. Same for fumonisin, 2 months. There you do a lot of analysis, and nowhere you are speaking of 1 or 2 or 10 analyses per day. It can be 1,000. And there, if you really want to get good results, you will need a form of automation.
Yeah.
We see that very much in the clinical part of our business, when we work at hospitals where the numbers are very high. Sooner or later, you need automation to absorb the work, but also to guarantee a good result. Quality control is included in each column, and there are a lot of advantage for the user.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at the second last letter, we've got A. I was thinking apples. So you've got patulin analysis there.
Yes.
We don't have an immunoaffinity column for patulin, but we do offer a molecular imprinted polymer column, the EasyMIP patulin product. I think patulin is one of the more difficult mycotoxins to analyse. There can be a lot of interference on the chromatogram, so some kind of cleanup is quite beneficial here to give you a cleaner chromatogram and make analysis a little bit easier.
Yes. Sorry, I'm already on the S, but yes, apple is definitely used in different preparation, also can be ending up in food for children. And indeed, fungi can be there. They can produce their toxin, and toxicity-wise is high for patulin. Yeah. And again, we work on that. You have a solution. It's for certain industry, it's very important to do not only, let's say, random control, but day to day, as soon as they get some supply, they need to check, to guarantee no risk at the end.
Yeah,
of course. So yes, patulin is certainly not the most maybe used, because it's relatively small in terms of production, but is as important as the others to guarantee for certain product innocuity of the consumption.
Yeah, and of course there are reports it's not just occurring in apples. There have been occurrence in things like tomatoes, so going through into sort of tomato sauces, tomato purees, and also other soft fruits as well. So,
Totally.
As our knowledge grows and, there's more analysis done, you gain more knowledge about where it's actually occurring, and which also increases testing at the end of the day.
Yes.
So yes, the last letter, S. So any ideas, any suggestions?
No, it's not a good one, but I know there are certain reason like grape like sultanas.
Yes.
But sometimes you are testing in Glasgow, but maybe you have other ideas. But sultanas, I know you develop application for those. They develop, they can be badly stored, and they can develop some fungi. But sorry, I didn't prepare myself.
Okay.
I really thought we were speaking of the next Christmas meal and what will be at the menu and how you will be dressed. Sorry, I was not expecting that, Claire.
So, no, what about spices? I mean, we do so much testing for spices.
Yes.
And again, at Christmas time, you've got cinnamon and you've got lots of different spices that are used in cooking, don't you? I think it's a very important thing.
Yes, definitely. And again, storage is important. I would say if it's not under control, it's naturally a product which can be at risk, which need to be controlled, And indeed, good choice for the S.
Yeah, and I think, you've got aflatoxin, you've got ochratoxin. For me, for spices, it's the one commodity where I think multi-approach could be quite advantageous rather than doing everything individually. You can do it together. And not just with an aflo-ochra.
One injection, you win a lot of time. You get on the same graph different pike and the result automatically. Yeah, definitely for the analyst, the multi-approach is a very big interest, especially for spice where there are legislation in place. And my impression is they never go higher. We saw that for cocoa at the beginning of the year. They usually they stay the same, or they go down. And so they request more sensitivity for the technique, i.e., more capacity of the colon, which I know you offer. So again, if you have a project to look for possible risk with your spices that you buy or you produce, you assemble, I think Glasgow is a good address to go.
Yeah. I think also, typically people are looking at afla and ochra and spices, but a lot of companies are now sort of doing due diligence, and they're using products like the 11 Plus Myco MS Prep. So they're analysing all legislated toxins in spices. And quite often they are finding some other mycotoxins, zearalenone, for example, in certain spices and so on.
Yes.
So again, being able to broaden the scope of testing, make it easier, multi-toxin, and it can be unusual sometimes, some of the results that you get back at the end of the day. So.
Yes. No, I fully follow you. Yeah. Indeed, application, I know you have a lot, and it's really what you bring, dedicated method, depending on the spices and multi-approach. Very interesting.
Well, thank you very much, Marcel. It's been wonderful chatting to you, and that brings the end of this special Christmas edition of the RHôNE Infobites podcast series.